Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll look at the difference between a $200 suit and a $2,000 suit. Obviously, there's an $1,800 gap, so the question is it worth the difference? What are the hallmarks of a $200 suit versus a $2,000 suit? And should you care? We'll walk you through all aspects of them, so you get the perfect suit for your money. So right off the bat, what kind of sacrifices do you have to make with a $200 suit? Frankly, at this price point, you must make sacrifices in terms of quality. There's no way around that. But why is that, you might think? Well, there's certain fixed costs. You have the material, you have things like shipping, the infrastructure, like a shop or an online storefront, and the people that are involved. You won't be able to get a custom suit at that price point unless you go to a really low labor cost country like India, for example. In order to get to the $200 price point, you have to accept cheaper materials that won't age as well. You have to accept a fused interlining that will be less comfortable and will make you more hot when you wear it.
It's so damn hot!
So what brands even offer $200 suits? Where there's things like Jose Bank, Men's Warehouse, or H&M. They're joining mall brands like Perry Ellis, Calvin Klein, or Lauren by Ralph Lauren. But hey, does it get even cheaper? Yes, places like Target, Walmart, maybe Primark offer suits in the $100 range. A few years back, a retail price of $1,000 bought you much more in quality, but with inflation, increased material and labor costs, you now have to eye upwards to get something that's really worth your money. Of course, we're talking retail price here. If you want to learn how you can make your dollar spread further when buying clothes, check out this video. Brands like Brooks Brothers or Hugo Boss now have suits in the $1,000 and $1,000+ range, but you don't quite get the quality that price once commanded. So what types of suits do you get for $2,000? Obviously, they're ready-to-wear brands. Think of Ralph Lauren, Caruso, Chiffonelli, Drake's, Belvest, Corneliani, Paul Stewart, N. Peel, Canali, and so forth. In general, suits from these brands will have a higher quality, but not every suit is worth its price tag. So if you want to know which ready-to-wear suit brand is the biggest bang for the buck, check out our ranking videos where we stack up 54 ready-to-wear suit brands against each other. Now, the nice part about a $2,000 price point is that you do not have to go ready-to-wear. You can go made to measure, and in some instances, you're even able to go into bespoke territory. That means you get the fabric you want, you get the styling you want, you get the details you want, and all that with a fit that is hopefully superior than that of a ready-to-wear suit. So keep in mind that the terms custom, made to measure, or bespoke are not protected terms, so buyer beware. If you want to understand the differences, check out this video. At this price point, there are many options available online. You can also find local options, and if you're, let's say, in Italy, you may find a local master tailor who will maybe make you a suit for $2,000 if you bring your own fabric. No, $2,000 won't buy you the best suit in the world, made from the most expensive fabrics with the most elaborate handwork, but you will get something that is good, that will stand the test of time, and that's comfortable to wear. Now, just because a suit is custom or made to measure doesn't mean it is made at a higher standard than a ready-to-wear suit. And I'm sure there are instances where a ready-to-wear suit can be made to a much higher quality standard than a so-called custom suit. That's why it pays to watch the Gentleman's Gazette, so you can identify if custom clothing is a myth or not, and what to look for so you don't get scammed. Lastly, you could also take your $2,000 and invest it in formerly really expensive suits from Kiton, Brioni, Isaia, and so forth at a much reduced price. Frankly though, if you're open to the second-hand market, you can find suits of that caliber for under $1,000 on places like eBay. So if you spend $2,000, we strongly suggest you go to made-to-measure or custom route. If you prefer to go the what you see is what you get route with your suit, keep in mind that great brands can always command a higher price for the same quality product as a lesser brand. Ultimately, you have to decide what is worth it to you and what isn't. We want to just help you get there. We just want your style to be jaw-dropping, not your clothing builds. In terms of assembly, you'll only have about 2 to 3 man hours go into sewing a $200 suit. I mean, frankly, I've been stuck in traffic for longer than that. The work will be done entirely by machine without any handwork. Now, in general, machines are good, and even for suits, for example, on a lapel, using a Strobel machine is the way to go. It's much more cost efficient. However, there are areas where having a bit of handwork is nice because the seam is more flexible and therefore more comfortable to wear. For example, in a $200 suit, the sleeve is sewn on all in one step. So you have the lining, you have the outer shell fabric, and you have the shoulder padding, and it's all put in together and sewn together. So it's less flexible and less comfortable. If you can afford to do these steps separately, it takes longer, it's more expensive, but you will feel it when you wear the jacket. Typically in a $200 suit, you will get very simplified patterns. Maybe single-breasted, it's one lapel shape, maybe you have 2 buttons. There's no extra details, no half back belt, no pleats. The pants may have a flat front, or maybe they have one pleat. It's just in one direction. There's nothing to choose. The rise will typically be low, which is less flattering. And if you have big thighs or big calves, that really won't help you because those type of suits typically can't accommodate you. That being said, I was possibly surprised to see the $200 H&M suit in regular fit actually fit me rather well. In fact, it fits me better than many other much more expensive garments, but that was just lucky in that case. Typically, I can hardly ever wear the pants of a suit, but here I could. Probably also because we were able to buy a different size for the pants as we were for the jacket. My H&M jacket was a 44 regular and my pants were 38 regular. Another pattern issue that we'll find in most $200 suits is that their upper sleeves are quite tight. So when you reach forward, when you wave for a cap, or if you move your arms, you will feel much more constricted. This problem is amplified if there is not enough drape of your shoulder blades in the back, because that way you feel constricted in the front on your sleeves, but also in your back, making the whole suit uncomfortable to wear. The $200 H&M suit had somewhat tighter upper sleeves than the $2,000 suit because you could customize it to my personal preferences, but it wasn't as bad as other garments I've tested and worn in the past that were ready to wear in that price range. Because of the restrictions in a $200 jacket, you typically also see much more of a collar gap. Honestly, in this H&M jacket though, it's not that bad. Compare that to the $2,000 jacket. I mean, there's less gapping in a $2,000 jacket, but a $200 does just fine, especially compared to other ready-to-wear jackets. Now, if you're new to suits, you may not know how to distinguish between machine stitching and hand stitching. Typically, you can look under the collar and you'll see if it was attached by hand, which means irregular stitches, or if it was machine sewn with great regular stitches. By the way, we have a video about quality hallmarks of a suit that walks you through step by step on how you can identify a quality suit from a crappy one. Now, in a $2,000 suit, there's typically more handwork. Overall, between 8 and 30 hours will go into a suit. If you want to buy a made in the USA suit, you will get less handwork and less man hours in a suit of comparable quality to something that was made in China, for example. Here, I'm wearing a $2,000 made-to-measure suit that was made from a Harrison's of Edinburgh flannel fabric, and it has a very similar houndstooth pattern than the H&M one. If you look at the collar, or the sleeve lining, or inside a jacket on the sleeves and how they're sewn in, you can see the handwork. Also, if you compare things like the buttonholes, for example, you see a clear difference between a $200 and a $2,000 suit. The $200 suit is machine-made and not even opened. The $2,000 suit is handmade with a nice silk thread and beautiful. With the $2,000 suit, I could customize what I wanted. So I wanted some shooting pleats on the side, I wanted a half belt, and if you look at my patch pockets, they have a little pleat for extra volume when I put things in my pockets, but also for a stylistic element. I also chose a 3-roll 2 silhouette versus a $200 suit. It's just a single 2-button suit. Also in a $2,000 suit, I chose to go with a matching vest, which will be hard with a suit from H&M at $200. Maybe you're lucky and have a matching vest, but more often than not, they don't have that kind of stuff. Next up, let's look at the fabric and its differences. The $200 suit has a outer fabric shell that is made of 67% polyester, 31% viscose, and 2% elastane. That elastane helps to make everything more comfortable to wear, and when I first touched the suit, I was positively surprised because it felt rather soft. I could tell the $200 suit wasn't cashmere like from Kiton, which is always super luxuriously soft, but still it felt pretty good. The $2,000 suit is made from a fabric from a renowned mill called Harrison's. It is a really nice wool flannel made of 100% wool that has a nice touch and is perfect for a more casual suit like the one I chose. For the lining and sleeve lining, the $200 suit has polyester, which is a very cheap option that will also make you overheat more easily. The $2,000 suit has a Bamberg lining in a nice changeant color, meaning depending on how the light falls on the fabric, you see a different color, which is very sophisticated. Bamberg or Coupeau is, in our opinion, the best suit lining because it is anti-static, it is breathable, it is color fast and durable. For a $200 suit, I would have expected a worse, more unpleasant handling of the outer fabric. I would have expected less freedom of movement, and I would have expected it to be a lot hotter. Now for this H&M suit, it wears hotter than the 100% wool suit. It is not very constricting though, and the hand is nice. Of course, the material composition, it being polyester and viscose blended with elastane, will age a lot more poorly and wear out prematurely compared to the wool suit of the $2,000 one. Also keep in mind that when you look at the label and it says it's 100% something, you can often add 1 or 2% of elastane, for example, without having to disclose that. Reputable brands like Loro Piana or Harrison's or Scabal and so forth won't do that. What's on the label will be what's in the fabric. And when you get a $2,000 suit, you typically have a brand name fabric where you can rely on the label. At many $2,000 suits, you will find not just the manufacturer's label, but also the maker of the fabric. Why? Well, they're proud to display the quality maker of the fabric. On an H&M suit, you will rarely find that. That being said, just because one fabric is made at one mill under one label name doesn't mean it has the same quality as something else that was made at the same mill. When it comes to fabric, keep in mind that having a certain label like Vitale Barbaris Canonica or Holland & Sherry will guarantee you a certain minimum quality level that is pretty high, but it doesn't mean all the fabrics from Holland & Sherry are the same. Because you need about 2.5 to 3 meters of fabric to make a suit, you will never find a quality cloth label in a $200 suit. Why? Well, the fabric would cost more than the retail price of that suit. Yes, it is true. You can buy relatively good fabric in bulk, even from renowned mills, and get a huge discount compared to a cut length that you have to buy in a $2,000 suit. What does that mean? If you mass produce a suit, you can get one fabric for, let's say, $50. That would cost $200 or more if you just bought one length for one made-to-measure suit. This is also the reason why most made-to-measure companies advertise their starting price, which may be $800 or $1,000, but you will only see maybe 20 options out there because that's the fabric that they stock. Everything else they have to buy at small quantities at a much higher price. So if $2,000 is too much for you and you're just starting out, maybe try to go with some of the stock fabrics to save you some money so you can still get the same level of workmanship. When it comes to any suit, fit is king, and we'll show you in this video how a suit should fit. In a nutshell, you have to budget for alterations when you buy the $200 suit versus in a $2,000 made-to-measure suit that is all included. Now, a $2,000 suit will have much more of a fabric reserve, thus allowing you to make alterations and make things bigger. a $200 suit will be cut on a minimal pattern with hardly no excess fabric, so all you can do is make the garment tighter or smaller. Another huge difference between a $200 and a $2,000 suit is the construction or the interlining used in the suit. Why do you need it? Well, basically, when you start, fabric is two-dimensional and flat. Your body is three-dimensional, and so in order for the fabric to cover you three-dimensionally, you need a second layer of fabric that keeps the outer shell in place so it drapes nicely around your body. If you want to learn more about it, we have a dedicated video for it. In a $200 suit, this interlining is a layer that is glued onto the outer shell fabric so it keeps its shape. This is very cost-effective, but it also is uncomfortable because it limits your movement and it will make you overheat when you wear it. Personally, I run hot, so I hate a suit that makes me sweat more than I have to. Also, over time, that glued interlining is more likely to come off, and sometimes you can see little bubbles and wrinkles on your suit, especially if you wear them hard or if you wear them in the rain, so that a $200 suit will look unsightly much more quickly and you'll have to throw it. There's no way to fix or repair an interlining that is coming off. It also doesn't conform as well to the body. That being said, on this $200 suit, I felt it fit me rather well for a suit at this price point. Once I put on the $2,000 jacket though, I could totally feel the difference, which may be hard for you to see, but you have to trust me on that one. Now in a $2,000 suit, you will typically either find a half canvas construction or a full canvas construction. What is canvas? They're typically layers of horsehair, cotton, or wool that provide that shape to the outer fabric. What are the advantages of a floating canvas that is made of natural materials? Well, on the one hand, it breathes and it's more flexible, so it moves with your body, thus creating comfort, and you won't overheat as much. Also, the jacket drapes more nicely and is more flattering. The suit I'm wearing today, which was custom made for me, has a fully floating canvas. I wanted to cut open the suit to show you what this one looks like, but with it before so you can see the stitch pattern. It's typically done by a Strobel machine, which is a German machine, and there's one for the left lapel and for the right lapel. And it cuts down the process of what may take 10 or 20 hours to just a few minutes. On a $200 suit, the glued interlining will typically also lead to a less flattering lapel roll, compared to the $2,000 suit where you have a nice lapel roll. It's a little detail, but connoisseurs really appreciate it. When it comes to the pattern, there is usually quite a bit of a difference between a $200 suit and a $2,000 suit. The $200 suit typically comes in very standard, regular patterns that are often boxy with a bigger armhole, so they accommodate a large number of people. The made-to-measure $2,000 suit, on the other hand, can take a pattern, adapt it to your body, adjust the height of the armhole, making sure it's as comfortable as it can be for you. Other things to consider are the front to back balance when you look at your suit from the side. The $200 suit will typically have a jacket that is longer in the front and shorter in the back. Now, $2,000 made-to-measure suits may also have that issue unless there is a good fitter who understands all the implications and can shorten the jacket and create a more level look. Typically, the $200 suit is also more subject to fashion. You may get skinnier lapels than in a $2,000 suit, or you may also get a shorter jacket than on a $2,000 suit. So at the end of the day, a person who really knows how to fit someone in made to measure can yield a result that's much more pleasing than a ready-to-wear jacket can. Even if you have a good alterations tailor, they won't work all their magic and create something that is as comfortable as the $2,000 suit. When it comes to details, the $2,000 suit definitely has an edge over the $200 suit. Here, the $200 suit doesn't even have a lapel buttonhole, versus the $2,000 suit has a handmade Milanese buttonhole that is raised and elegant. Also, if you look at the other buttonholes of the $200 suit, you can see that they are sewn first and then cut. That is much faster to achieve. It's also much less expensive, but it's not as beautiful as a buttonhole that was cut first and then sewn. When it comes to trimmings, which are the threads, the buttons, and the linings, the $200 suit just goes with the cheapest possible thing, which typically is some form of polyester or some artificial material that is maybe made to look like a natural material like horn or Caruso. The $2,000 suit will have nice materials, typically horn buttons, Caruso buttons, mother of pearl buttons, leather buttons, wood buttons, depending on the style of your suit. You'll also have details such as pig stitching, which may be done by hand or by an AMF machine, which you may or may not find on a $200 suit. On a $2,000 suit, you can also influence the details when you go made to measure. For example, here I chose to have 3 sleeve buttons instead of 4, and I also wanted a wider gap so I could have a more vintage feel, which was in line with the fabric and the stylistic choices I made in the back of the jacket. By the way, if you want to learn more about buttons, Preston's got you covered. If you bought a $200 suit in the early 2000s, chances were that you had a very thick shoulder pad, and if you moved your arms in combination with a big armhole, it made you look like a football player. In recent years, that has changed a little bit. Now, even the H&M suit has very little shoulder padding. Now, if you compare it to the $2,000 suit, actually, the $2,000 suit may have a little more, but the materials of the shoulder pad are of higher quality than that in a $200 suit. Why does it matter? Well, on a $200 suit, it will likely wrinkle over time, and it won't keep the shape as nicely as on the $2,000 suit. In a nutshell, there is a reason why a $2,000 suit costs 10 times as much as a $200 suit. Over time, you'll be more comfortable in a $2,000 suit, it will flatter you more, and it will likely fit you better than a $200 suit. Now, if $200 is your max budget, I suggest you look into the pre-owned section. That way, you can get a garment that is more in the $2,000 range at your $200 price point, so you don't have to sacrifice the quality at a budget that works for you. That being said, I was positively surprised about this H&M suit. I had done no alterations, and this is how it fit me. So overall, I'm impressed what kind of a fit and feel you can get for $200, although I'm well aware that this thing won't last for very long and it won't age gracefully. The $2,000 suit, on the other hand, I've had for several years. I can tell there may be some areas where they have gotten a little tighter, so either I have to hit the gym harder or I have to visit my alterations tailor. But I know I can do some alterations that make things bigger, versus on the $200 suit, I couldn't do that. In today's video, I'm wearing a 3-piece suit from Hemra Gianni. It has beautiful patch pockets with nice detailing, has shoulder pleats, and a half-belted back. It has this beautiful chocolate brown and off-white color. I'm pairing it with a shirt from Spear & McKay that is green and white striped, a no-name green silk tie, as well as a green wool silk pocket square from Fort Belvedere, which you can find in our shop, just like this light pinkish cherry blossom silk boutonniere. My socks are solid bottle green silk socks, also from Fort Belvedere. And on my feet, I'm wearing a pair of Chelsea boots in a chocolate brown suede from Loke 1880. On my pinky, I have a nice ring that I found at a flea market in Berlin. It's a green tourmaline with an Art Nouveau style setting in yellow gold. In line with the fall-winter mood of my outfit and the green elements, I chose the Green Irish Treat cologne from Creed for today's outfit.